Hello everybody and welcome back to QuipScope. It's the show where we talk about a brand new video game that's either just come out or is coming out very soon. My name is Peter. My name is Peter. I'm all by myself today, actually. It's a first for QuipScope. It's the Thursday Jubilee bank holiday in the UK when I am recording this. So it means that everyone is at home. Pretty much. I mean, there's actually still someone creaking around upstairs from Cultaholic, but everyone from TripleJump is certainly on holiday, but I am in because I took my holiday earlier in the week. So I'm here to tell you all about Kao the Kangaroo. It's pronounced KO because he's got boxing gloves, you see? Like KO. Get it? Oh, I'm doing the quips already. I need to wait till the end of the video. So, yes, here I am all by myself. QuipScope, of course, is not just generally, all the time. It's an off-the-cuff conversational kind of show. So I'm still doing this off-the-cuff conversational, even though normally when we only have one presenter on this channel, it's heavily scripted and polished. So it might sound a bit weird for one person just to be floundering around, but we'll see how we get on, won't we? So, Kao the Kangaroo is a series that has been going on for longer than you might think. It's a sort of a mascot platformer, which you might already be able to tell from the gameplay on screen, by Tate Multimedia, are the current developers / publishers. It goes all the way back to the year 2000, would you believe? The original Kao the Kangaroo was released on PC, Dreamcast, and Game Boy Advance. And then a couple more came out. But now, in 2022, all those years later, we've got Kao the Kangaroo. It's just called that. They've gone back to basics with the name. So it's, again, developed and published by Tate Multimedia. Came out end of May 2022 for PC, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series. X/S, of course. So, what can I tell you about this game? Well, as I've already said, it's your 3D platformer, kind of mascot-y sort of fare. Immediately quite reminiscent of Crash Bandicoot in particular, but also, you know, the likes of Spyro and Yooka-Laylee and Banjo-Kazooie and all that sort of thing. You play as Kao the Kangaroo, the clue is in the name, and you live on Hopaloo Island. Your sister, I believe, is missing, as is your father. So a bunch of your family are gone, and your mum is, at this point, quite happy for you to go and look for them. In the opening cutscene, you're like, "I'm going, Mom, and you can't stop me." And she's like, "I'm not going to. Off you go." So, you know, quite a, well, I don't know what the word would be. Either irresponsible or just a mother who's happy for her child to be independent, maybe. So off you go to look after your family. Look for your family with the power of magic boxing gloves. In fact, they're your dad's gloves, and they're kind of the USP as you do go around punching things. And these gloves can absorb elemental powers, things like fire and ice. You can also use them to create. Make platforms kind of phase in from almost a different dimension in kind of a Crash 4 sort of way. I'm not implying for a minute that that's been an intentional... I mean, it's an old trope, really. It kind of reminds me, in a weird way, of the PS1 Harry Potter, which had a spell where you could make platforms appear out of darkness. Verdimilius, was it? The point is, magic gloves. So you're going around, you're attacking enemies, and you're platforming, and you are doing a lot of collecting. So there's quite an old school feel to this. You're collecting the letters KO, K-A-O, spelling your name. That's a very sort of... It really takes me back, actually, to be spelling my name out in collectathon form. You've got loads of ducats to collect. Those are the coins. You can spend those in the shop to buy cosmetic items, but also things to help you on your quest, one-ups and increasing your health gauge and so on. There are blue crystals to collect in every level. Those, as far as I'm aware at the moment, I've played a couple of hours of the game now. As far as I'm aware, the blue crystals are simply just collectibles, whereas some of the others, as I say, the ducats, have a purpose. There are runes available. These will unlock levels in the hub area. So there are levels locked behind big purple crystally gates, and if you have enough runes, you'll be able to smash through them. So again, something kind of harks back to various games of this ilk. And, of course, you're collecting things like health and lives as you go around, too. So there's a lot to pick up in this game, and that is probably worth knowing before you set out into the world of Kao the Kangaroo. This is very much a collectathon. But how is the quality of the game, asks my co-star who is not here today. Well, thank you for asking. Let me tell you all about it. Well, I have been a little disappointed with the overall level of polish, I would say. So if you look at individual things and kind of grade them in a kind of a broad, almost superficial sense from a bit of a distance, you, I think, can say a lot about this game, a lot of positive things about this game. I think it looks very nice. I really do, actually. I think this looks very, very beautiful. It's up there with Crash 4, Crash Insane, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I think it is fair to say, other than maybe the lighting is perhaps a little bit less complex, I think, it is in kind of the same ballpark, to be fair. So it's a very pretty game. I really like the character designs and the enemy designs. I've already encountered some really entertaining beasties. And also the music, I think, is genuinely really good. I mean, even just the first 2 or 3 tracks were kind of instant favorites for me, and I'm looking forward to making my way through this game just to hear more music from the soundtrack, to be honest, as much as anything else. So visually looks good broadly. Sound-wise, sounds good broadly. However, it's when you start looking at the finer details that it is kind of a bit let down. Now, to be fair, this is not a game with as much of a budget as the likes of the Crash Bandicoots and Spyros of recent years. So I wasn't going into this expecting a game that looks like it's been published by Activision, I knew that this was going to be something below that, but I think there are still a few things here that are maybe a little bit unforgivable. You've got a lot of things popping in the first few frames of cutscenes. I don't think the cutscenes themselves are animated in much of an engaging way. The voice acting I really dislike, particularly Kao's voice is odd, both in terms of the actual scripting, so that's the writer's fault, and also the delivery, so the voice artist himself, unfortunately. I hate to say it, I hate to be mean like that, but Kao does not sound good. And there are very few people I have encountered who do sound particularly exciting and engaging. On the subject of sound issues, I've found that occasionally sounds just won't play, so a line will be at the bottom, a subtitle, I should say, will be at the bottom of the screen, and the line won't be delivered by Kao. When I've smashed down the crystal walls that are blocking a level entrance in the hub world, there's just been no accompanying sound whatsoever, which, you would think that smashing that wall down should be a big dopamine release, but when you don't even hear smash.mp3, it's a bit disappointing. Even really, when you really get down to the detail of the game design as well, I find that as a platformer, this is occasionally a bit lacking. Now, broadly speaking, again, I think they've done some interesting things here. I like the platforms that are appearing and disappearing. I quite like that the object that you have to smash to make platforms appear can sometimes be hovering above a pitch that you don't want to fall into, and you have to jump and smash it in midair so that a platform will appear underneath you as you then fall after you've smashed it. So things like that feel quite rewarding, and you really do feel like you're jumping around and being active and smart about the way you're doing these things. So that's all good, but even things like the gaps on between platforms aren't thoughtfully done in relation to the distance of your jump. So you can do one jump, a single jump, or you can do, as we call it here at TripleJump, 2/3 of a triple jump. We don't use the term double jump, thank you very much. 2/3 of a triple jump. But I find that some of the platforms are separated from each other with a gap that is slightly too long for your single jump, so you immediately think, well, I must do a 2/3 of a triple jump here to reach that, to cross this gap. But if you do 2/3 of a triple jump, you're in danger of actually overshooting the platform that you're trying to get to. So you have to do a single jump, then do another jump in midair, but then wiggle around a little bit and change direction so that you don't quite fall over. On the subject of gameplay, though, there are some positives here. I think the combat is quite a nice balance. I think combat can be very simplistic or almost non-existent in games of this kind. You look at Crash Bandicoot, he either spins or jumps on stuff, or he doesn't. Or maybe slides, if you want to really mix it up. But, that's very basic. It's not very exciting. Even Spyro, who has the choice of fire or charge, is just doing fire or charge, right? But at the other end of the spectrum, my mind often goes to a game some of you may be aware of called The Legend of K. With that game, because it did have this martial arts inspired theme, the combat was a bit too involved. There was a lot of standing around, just mashing buttons. This game, Kao the Kangaroo, is very nicely placed between those two extremes. So you've got more involved combat than you would have in the likes of Crash Bandicoot, but it doesn't start to grind you down, I've found. Certainly at the stage of the game I'm in, anyway. So you've only got one attack button for punching. You can jump around as you do that and do a ground pound. And you've got a roll that will allow you to roll in any direction, not just forwards. So that's kind of all you need to kind of step yourself up from the likes of Crash Bandicoot, but not overcomplicate things. So on balance, there are positives like that. The combat is good. The game looks very nice when you just simply take a still of it, let's say, both in terms of its palette, its character designs, and so on. But when you see it in action, and when you spot some of the issues with, textures popping in, the camera will often clip through walls when you're inside houses. So the game encourages you to go inside small buildings like shacks and things. But then when you get in there, the camera doesn't really know what to do about it. And if you swing the camera around, you'll be passing through walls and things. It's not ideal when the game is in motion, quite frankly. As I say, when you see a still from this game or see any of the promotional artwork and things like that, it's very pretty. And as I say, it sounds very nice as well when the music is playing. But once you get that character moving through the space and you get that camera moving through the space, that's when the cracks start to show. Now, as I said at the beginning of this chat with myself in an empty room, you have to take into account that this is not a game with the budget of, keep making the comparison, but the likes of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. Those are the places our minds go to when we see a game like this. But yeah, the budget isn't there, and I didn't expect it to be a blockbuster, but I did expect it to not have a camera clipping through walls, bad voice acting, characters that aren't voice acted at all as well. You get just silent text appearing on screen sometimes, and I mean intentionally. I don't mean that a line of dialogue hasn't triggered properly. I mean, there are characters that just aren't voice acted. I didn't expect some of these issues to be present. I thought this is going to be a smaller scale game, perhaps less ambitious, but it ought to work properly. And at the moment, it's not working quite as well as it should. So it's not a travesty. It's not a scandal. This isn't a bad game. This is not a bad game. But I think you have to go into this really preparing yourself for the fact that it is made on a budget. And even with that in mind, it's still a little bit below par in places. I think there's fun to be had if you are a fan of this genre. I'm going to be live streaming this game on the channel, do at least one session of it, perhaps more if people want to see more. But it's lacking in places, and that's a real shame. But thank you all the same to Ash down at Renaissance PR for sending us a code for this game. As I say, it's available for pretty much every console out there at the moment, so you can go and grab yourself a copy if you would like a go. But yeah, just go in knowing what to expect, really. So that leaves just enough time for me on my own to say, Kao the Kangaroo, more like KO the Kangaroo, because he's got boxing gloves and he knocks people out. I mean, that's not really I should do another one. Kao the Kangaroo, more like KO. It's not as good as I wanted it to be. The Kangaroo. Yeah? Is that all right? Thanks for listening to QuipScope. Please make sure to stick with the channel for more first impressions of video games. Hopefully with someone for me to sort of bounce off of and have a dialogue with next time. Did I do okay? Let me know on social media. Was this the worst QuipScope ever? Or secretly the best? Yeah, I think it was. No, it wasn't. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Right, thanks everyone. Bye.